Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. A little bit later today. Apologies, had a very busy day, but we wanted to come to you because look, President Trump is in the midst of this whirlwind tour of the Middle East, and some big breaking news today, folks. We want to share with you right off the bat. President Trump has officially dropped sanctions against Syria. He met with the leader of Syria, a guy we've talked about a bunch here on the live stream since December when he took power in Damascus. Ahmed al-Shara, also known as, in his al-Qaeda days, as Mohammed al-Golani. Now, again, this was an al-Qaeda leader. And until recently, there was a $10 million U.S. bounty on his head. And what a rise, what a turn of events, where this jihadist is now meeting with the leader of the free world, the president of the United States. So, look, President Trump had some nice things to say about him today, about al-Shara, and has very high hopes for Syria under his leadership and hopes Syria can turn things around. And a few key points. Number one, in his meeting, Trump said that he told al-Shara, aka al-Golani, that he wanted Syria to sign on to the Abraham Accords with Israel. Not only that, he wanted Syria to put an end to any kind of terror dabbling it's doing. That's an understatement. And number three, to help the U.S. and the Western world crack down on ISIS in Syria, in particular eastern Syria, where I think there's 10,000 ISIS terrorists who are imprisoned in eastern Syria right now. And Trump would like al-Golani to take over supervision of that. So some big asks and tall orders there from President Trump to this new Syrian leader. And this is the ultimate case of let's wait and see. Because right now, look, not right now, really for the past 5 months, we've been telling you the jihadi leopard, at least in my personal experience, covering the region, traveling to the region, interviewing terrorists and former terrorists over the past 20 plus years, the jihadi leopard does not change its spots. So although Ahmed al-Shara, aka Mohammed al-Golani, has trimmed his beard a bit, he's lost the terrorist garb and now wears a suit and tie. And he speaks in moderate tones, saying, look, we want pluralism, we want peace, and we're open. He apparently told Trump that we are open to joining the Abraham Accords and forging peace and normalizing relations with Israel. All that said, this could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. So it's a risk, certainly, for President Trump. And he's doing it, I believe, for two reasons. Number one, he is throwing a bone to the Gulf states where he's visiting right now, right? Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. They were all urging President Trump to normalize relations with Syria and drop sanctions. Essentially, folks, they are vouching for this new regime in Syria. So if it all goes by the wayside and blows up, quite literally, President Trump should hold them accountable. Because they, look, yesterday, MBS Mohammed bin Salman, as Trump announced this in Riyadh yesterday that he was dropping sanctions, MBS had a big smile on his face and was clapping. And Trump said, the things I do for the crown prince, and I quote. So you get the sense that Trump is also wary of this new regime and this new Syrian leader. But Trump's saying, okay, Saudi, Qatar, UAE, they agreed on this trip, or they're in the process of agreeing. Trump goes to UAE tomorrow, I believe, before flying back on Friday. They've agreed to invest $1 trillion altogether in the United States, in American companies, in the American worker and American families, where you ultimately think that money is going to come. So Trump's saying, okay, they're doing right by us there. I'll throw them a bone with Syria and give them what they want in that regard. Now, they may be, quote, doing right by us there, but when it comes to Qatar, which we've talked about a bunch here in the live stream, they're not doing right by anyone, whether it's the United States or Israel. This has been a Hamas financier, this tiny oil-rich Gulf nation. So problematic on many levels. And I think President Trump is now saying, I'm talking about Qatar. Look, in 2017, President Trump himself, during his first term, said Qatar is a sponsor of terrorism. That hasn't changed in the past 8 years. But I think President Trump now is saying, okay, I've got all the leverage in the world over Qatar. Perhaps I can affect their behavior. We shall see. Again, this is a lot of this. It's a new paradigm in the Middle East, a new way of doing things, even in some ways profoundly different from President Trump's first term. A lot of wait and see here, needless to say. But back to Syria, two reasons for that. Number one, again, throwing a bone to the Gulf states. They threw us a bone, a financial bone. Okay, we'll work with you. We'll give you this. We'll give you this caveat. We'll make this concession for you in the interest of the art of the deal, as President Trump would call it. Now, President Trump also probably said to these Gulf leaders, you're vouching for this guy. And if it doesn't work out, if he turns out to still be a foaming at the mouth Al-Qaeda jihadist, then we're going to have big problems. But that's the first reason. And the second reason is, and this is a good reason, President Trump wants to bring Syria in from the cold, so to speak, to continue to form an anti-Iran Arab coalition, a bulwark against the Iranian regime and its proxies. Because think about it, for decades, I mean, really for the last decade in particular, really since 2011 in particular, when the bloody Syrian civil war launched, Iran became the main power broker in Syria. Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator, the leader before this new regime overran Damascus back in December 2024, Assad essentially became a proxy of Iran. Syria, under Assad over the past 14 years, became an Iranian client state and part of the Iranian ring of fire that surrounds Israel on all sides. Now that's gone. Assad obviously ousted back in December. He's living in exile in Moscow, Russia right now. And Iran and Hezbollah, his close allies, his benefactors, by extension, have also been largely ejected from Syria. And al-Shara, this new leader, saying, and they're not coming back. We don't want Iranian and Hezbollah influence in this country. So Trump is trying to strengthen that. He's trying to flip Syria into the column of the pro-West, pro-Israel, Abraham Accords, Sunni Arab states. Pro-Israel, by the way, is an exaggeration. That's, let's just say, not hostile to Israel. Because look, these nations have treaties with Israel. Jordan and Egypt in particular, look, they're not warm relationships with Israel, but they're relationships. Work is done together, intel, military, security. So it's not obviously a hostile relationship. It's peace. And that's all you can ask for, I guess, in that case. Bahrain and the UAE, now that's different. In Morocco, those are warmer relationships. And a lot of that, folks, is based on commerce and economics. These Gulf states, they're all about the economic factor in their dealings with President Trump in the United States and Israel. They see dollar signs. So that's a major reason they signed on to the Abraham Accords in the first place. But the main reason for the Abraham Accords, in my view, economic considerations, no doubt, but that anti-Iran axis. The Gulf states see Israel as the strong horse willing to stand against that Iranian ring of fire and a nuclear Iran. So a lot going on right now. And we're going to be discussing all of this, folks, right here in Dallas, Texas, where I'm sitting right now. Between June 9th and June 11th, it's just a few weeks away. Have you heard of the Israel Guys? One of my favorite channels on YouTube. Check them out. First of all, subscribe to the Israel Guys here on YouTube. Awesome channel on the ground in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland, doing incredible work. And guess what? Our good friends at the Israel Guys are holding an Israel Summit in Dallas, Texas. Again, June 9th to 11th, right here in the Big Day. It's in the Big D. I will be there speaking. It is a 3-day conference dedicated to standing for Jewish sovereignty, including over the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria and for the land of Israel. You can attend in person in Dallas right here, or you can purchase a live stream ticket and watch from anywhere in the world. We'd love to have you here in Dallas in person and meet you. Myself, the Israel Guys, of course, who are running this great conference. We've got David Friedman, the former U.S. ambassador to Israel, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, an incredible warrior, a modern-day Deborah for Israel, for America, member of Knesset Ohad Tal, Yishai Fleischer, and Jeremy Gimpel, Ari Abramovitz from the Land of Israel Network. Those two, and Yishai does his own thing. Incredible, incredible media personalities advocating for Israel from the biblical heartland. We'll have a survivor from the Nova Music Festival. IDF soldiers will be there. It's going to be a powerful 3-day summit, again, between June 9th and 11th. And it coincides, by the way, why are the Israel guys holding this great event? It coincides with an event, well, it follows it, June 2nd to the 4th at the UN in New York, a so-called Palestine summit. So the Israel summit in Dallas will stand directly against the idea of this two-state solution and stand in support of one Jewish state and Jewish sovereignty. Imagine that over all of the land of Israel. Okay, you see the registration link there on your screen. What I'm about to say is very important. Whether you come to Dallas or you have a streaming ticket online to watch the entire 3-day summit, use the promo code WATCHMAN, M-A-N, to get this, receive a 25% discount. Now, that's off all in-person tickets, but you can purchase a live stream. But make your travel plans now. You've got a few weeks. It's June 9th to the 11th in Dallas with the Israel guys. Yours truly, I'll be there. David Friedman, Michelle Bachman, some great speakers on the ground here in Dallas. If you want to be here with us in person, 25% discount. Just use that discount code WATCHMAN, M-A-N. Folks, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this event. The Israel guys are a great, great group of guys. I mean, hard-hitting. They tell it like it is from an unapologetically biblical perspective. And that's what we do here in the Watchmen. So we love what they're doing. We hope to see you here in Dallas, June 9th to the 11th. Again, if you can't make it in person, live stream tickets. Check it out. You see the information there on your screen. It is going to be good. Okay. Is this Israel-Syria possible new relationship going to be good? That's the big question we're exploring right now. Will there be a relationship? Look, Ahmed al-Shara, Mohammed al-Golani is saying all the right things today in his meeting with President Trump. He's saying, look, we want to join the Abraham Accords. And President Trump said, we want you to join the Abraham Accords. Israel apparently, reportedly, is having some back-channel discussions with this new Syrian regime. Folks, we shall see. Expect the unexpected in today's Middle East, the most volatile, most unpredictable region in the world. Could this really happen? I could see it happening, but look, there's got to, and again, it will be, and President Trump is thinking this, I know, and Israel, as it considers a possible normalization with Syria, is thinking this as well. It would be a real blow against Iran and the Iranian axis, no doubt. Again, I can't overstate how much Syria was a linchpin in that Iranian axis and Iran's larger aims. But again, a very massive caveat, this new government would have to crack down on ISIS and would have to expel terrorists and not engage in terrorism. And since the leader was a terrorist and really is a terrorist until he proves otherwise, it could be a long shot. But it's interesting this is being discussed. And the elephant in the room here, Turkey. How does this strengthen Turkey? Reports coming across the wire just before I joined you today that the U.S. is about to engage in an arms deal with Turkey after agreeing to a massive arms deal with Saudi Arabia yesterday. So look, the Saudis seem to be solidly leaning towards an Abraham Accords relationship with Israel. And Mohammed bin Salman seems to be a stable leader. But what makes you nervous about major arms deals with Arab Muslim states in the region is what I said a minute ago. It's so unpredictable and so volatile. God forbid a radical regime came to power in Saudi Arabia. I mean, there are big risks when you're dancing with the Saudis and with other nations in the region. But President Trump, his team, seem very confident that MBS has things on lock, so to speak, and that this won't threaten Israel. Trump said on the plane today, Air Force One, between junkets, that this is very good for Israel. His view, it's very good for Israel, these relationships. By the way, what's your view? We're talking here. What do you think of this, of what you've seen? How about the plane that Qatar is offering to President Trump? We talked about that on Monday. What do you think of that? I'd like to get your thoughts. Our watchmen and women on the wall, hey, while you're here, remember to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. And let me know your thoughts here in the comments and in our very lively chat we've got going on right now. Let's shift real quick to Iran while leaving a final word here about Turkey. Very concerned. Again, I think President Trump with Qatar and Turkey, who, again, they're Muslim Brotherhood regimes, Qatar and Turkey, and supporters of Hamas. I think President Trump is saying, I'm the one, I'm the deal maker, I'm the leader of the free world, I'm a strong leader, I've got all the leverage in the world, I'm making America strong and prosperous again. So I can convince these guys. Where others couldn't, I can convince Erdogan and the Qataris to be more responsible actors when it comes to terror and Israel. Can he? We shall see. He's very persuasive. The art of the deal is a very real thing. We've seen massive accomplishments in his first 100 plus days for sure. But Erdogan is someone who is not to be trusted. And his hand will likely be strengthened in Syria. So major word of caution here, folks. His hand was just strengthened in Syria now that these sanctions were dropped. And Erdogan just can't seem to help himself when presented with opportunities like this over the years. So again, I see what President Trump is doing on a few levels, but I think I'm most wary about Turkey and Turkey's role in a new Syria. In a new Syria with basically no restrictions, no guardrails, right? Sanctions dropped. The proof is in the pudding. If this Syrian regime shows true moderation, joins the Abraham Accords, hey, great. I don't know that Turkey would like that very much, as Turkey wants to be the power broker in the region, and this Turkish regime is hostile to the world's one and only Jewish state, clearly. Speaking of hostility to Israel, you saw the title of the thumbnail here. This also breaking news, but everyone's talking Syria, so I figured we'd lead with Syria. Comments today by President Trump. Now, he's been saying this for months. I want to get to the Iranian warning in response you saw in the thumbnail here. Well, two things. Number one, President Trump, very strong comments about Iran today, telling Iran, well, he keeps, I don't want to say moving the goalposts because we've been saying this all along, but in a great way. Thank God President Trump's doing this, because when these talks started, 4 rounds so far with the Iranian regime, a lot of us were concerned because we weren't hearing things like complete dismantlement of Iran's nuclear weapons program, complete dismantlement of any uranium enrichment capabilities, a complete cessation of any Iranian sponsorship of terror, and Iran abandoning its ballistic missile program. In the early days, it was kind of like, well, you know, Iran can keep a civilian nuclear program. Whoa, okay, pump the brakes. That sounds way too much like the disastrous Iran deal that President Trump pulled the United States out of in 2018, the Barack Obama, the JCPOA, the Barack Obama Iran deal. So I was kind of scratching my head. Thank God President Trump and his team have clarified in recent weeks. President Trump, and he repeated this today in Doha, in Qatar, said, look, complete dismantlement is what we want. He keeps saying, look, we want peace. We want to do a deal. But if Iran, it's up to Iran. If Iran doesn't want to do a deal, then we got to do what we got to do, and it ain't going to be pleasant. I think it's going to come to that eventually. I think either this is all going to collapse, and I'll tell you why in a second, a little bit more, some of these warnings and threats from Iran today. But they're under no scenario can I see Iran do what President Trump is asking for. He asked today, once again, for complete dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program, and he added this today: complete end of support for terror groups. We're talking Ring of Fire. We're talking Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the militias in Iraq, etc. Now, I ask you this, and comment here in the chat and just leave a comment. Can you see Iran doing this? I've been asking this a bunch since these negotiations with the U.S. started. What President Trump wants, it appears, and what Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, certainly wants, is something similar to the 2003 Libya deal, in which the Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi completely dismantled his nuclear program. I mean, full stop, completely dismantled, and key point here, allowed inspectors to come into Libya and gave them free rein. Now, I ask you, can you see Iran doing this? This regime, this wicked apocalyptic regime, which has spent 30 years, maybe more, working on this nuclear program, which is devoted to the destruction of Israel and America, the great Satan, remember, they call America, which is having big problems right now at home. The people, a good chunk of the people hate the regime. Big problems in the region. The ring of fire has collapsed. I mean, they're all licking their wounds. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Yes, the Houthis are still launching missiles, but they've been weakened. Assad's gone. So Iran is taking L's, losing everywhere they turn. The one thing that would enhance their reputation and their strength and their stability, once again, as a regime, would be the bomb. That's the ultimate, no pun intended, trump card. The North Korea model. North Korea, the world was talking about regime change. All of a sudden, Kim Jong-un got the bomb, little rocket man, and all of a sudden, we're not hearing a lot about regime change in North Korea. And Iran, which has had technological help, nuclear know-how exchanged with North Korea over the years, would be very amenable to that, to the North Korea option. So I say all that to say, there's no way. They're dismantling their nuclear program completely. They're allowing inspectors in. They're ending their sponsorship for the Ring of Fire or giving up their ballistic missile program. There's no way. Miracles do happen. And President Trump is very persuasive. But man, oh man, this one seems a bridge too far in that either way, the Iranian regime's cooked. If they agree to dismantle their nuclear program, it's so humiliating for them. And they're weakened, and the people may rise up and overthrow them finally. If they don't do it, their nuclear sites will be destroyed, either by Israel or Israel in tandem with the United States. And they'll also be weakened in that case, and the people may be able to rise up and overthrow them. So I think Iran is backed in a corner here, unless a weak Iran nuclear deal is agreed to. That would be a disaster. And that's going to put Israel in a very uncomfortable position of having to act. And look, having probably to act against America's wishes if the Trump administration agrees to some sort of nuclear deal that's not strong enough. Folks, let's pray that's not the case. I think President Trump, after his first term, gets the ultimate benefit of the doubt. The most pro-Israel president and anti-Iranian regime president we've ever seen. I mean, strong actions during his first term on every front. We've talked about it often. Fasten your seatbelt, because this is the year of reckoning for Iran. And just in case you had any doubt, the warning, the threat from the president of Iran. Now, it's usually from Ayatollah Khamenei, but the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, said today in response to President Trump's statement saying, look, you got to give up your nuclear program altogether, done. And you got to cease sponsorship for terror groups. Pezeshkian responded by saying Iran will, quote, not bow to any bully. And if Trump thinks he can come here to the Middle East, chant slogans and scare us, he says, for us, martyrdom is far sweeter than dying in bed. You came to frighten us? We will not bow to any bully. So you heard it there. Martyrdom, jihad, suicide bombings, etc., is far sweeter than dying in bed. Meaning, you just heard it from the president of Iran, meaning the Iranian regime is much more likely to say, the heck with you, we're going to keep our nuclear program. We're not going to give it up. And if you want to strike us, martyrdom is sweeter than dying in bed without a fight. I just don't see any way this doesn't end in a military confrontation of some sort. And I'm not talking about an invasion of Iran or a war with Iran, boots on the ground, ground war. No one's talking about that. What we've talked about is in this moment of golden opportunity when Iran has never been more vulnerable and weak, taking advantage of it and eliminating this existential nuclear threat. I don't see any way that Israel would pass up this opportunity, but the window is closing. And again, prayers for wisdom, discernment for President Trump, his team, that if any sort of deal is struck with the most unreliable, untrustworthy regime in the world, that it's a strong deal that completely dismantles that nuclear program, ends the support for terror and the ballistic missile program. By the way, to that end, 200 members of Congress here in the United States just today, the House, the Senate, released a bill saying that, look, nothing less than complete dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program will do. What a week. This has been an historic week in the world's most historic region, the Middle East. So we're keeping a very close eye on this. Remember that Israel summit, June 9th to the 11th. I hope to see you here in Dallas. Until next time, thanks for joining us. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.